Hello everyone, Thor here. I'm here to review something that everyone's very excited for. Book of Saw. It's gonna be great. No, just kidding. I know what you all really want. You want this one. In all seriousness, Spiral from the Book of Saw. Welcome to Rich Budapest from King of the Hill becoming a stand-up comedian cop. But seriously, Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson. I'm gonna get into it. I will jump into spoilers. I'm gonna give my thoughts before the spoilers, so anyone can drop out before they watch the whole thing. But where to begin? Well, it starts off. Chris Rock is a detective who's the son of Samuel L. Jackson, who used to be the police chief. Chris Rock is the good cop, but was stabbed in the back. It's alluded to. He explains it. He also talks about how being a cop is like a tough job. It strains on relationships, and you know, there's a high there's a high divorce, suicide rate, and a bunch of other issues that come with the job. And he's explained it to his rookie William, who Chris Rock's detective Zeke does not like having a partner, and he's forced to partner with a rookie because he doesn't trust the rest of the force because there's a lot of dirty cops that he's exposed in the past, and that is like a big narrative point in the story, which we will get to. So I'll say from the beginning, this is more takes more from Seven than it does any Saw movie, which I kind of like that about this, but I think a lot of pure Saw fans aren't going to love it. Think of it, it's kind of like they try to do Seven with the torture traps is kind of what they were going for. But I kind of like the more the thriller vibe. I do like horror movies, but honestly, I'm only a really big fan of the first Saw movie. A couple other ones were pretty decent, but I think the first one was the best one. I think a lot of people agree with that. But what's nice about this is this one had a much larger budget, obviously with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson being in it. But Samuel L. Jackson's not in it as much as you would think or hope. But, he's always great. He always plays, him or whatever. And he says all the lines and things you want to hear him say. So he just does the Samuel L. Jackson thing, Nick Fury as a retired cop, pretty much. And interesting having Chris Rock as a son. And Chris Rock, I think, was good in this movie. It's hard to get past, obviously, that voice of his. Like I made the joke earlier about him being Budapest from King of the Hill. He's done a million other things in stand-up comedy, which it sounded like he had a lot of outtakes from Tambourine as the opening lines in this movie that he brought in. So that they're funny, but it seems a bit out of place. This movie, once it gets going, doesn't really stop. Kind of to its detriment almost, because like Seven had lulls like between each sin. They're trying to put it together and figure it out, whereas this is just everyone's screaming, there's a new murder, someone else is captured. But what's interesting about this is Jigsaw. He's mentioned, but this is the first Saw movie. He's actually not in. There's pictures of him. He's not in it. He's finally dead, I guess, because you never know with these movies. I kind of thought going in that they'd somehow bring him back or something. But you see pictures, and they believe he's a copycat because he uses a spiral, and the new killer uses like puppets, very Jigsaw-esque. But Jigsaw kind of went after bad people to reform them, where this killer wants to reform the police, and that's the big theme of this movie. And you get to see it from both sides. But I kind of liked with the Saw movie that you were following, the cops and just seeing like them trying to solve it and going down their pathways. And you see some of the corruption in the police force and how they don't work well together. And that's how many of them get captured and killed. The traps are really interesting. Some of them, they look painful. I didn't really have to look away. My friend Courtney, who was there with my friend Nick, she had to hide herself, so maybe that stuff doesn't faze me anymore. But I think a lot of these movies have a bigger budget, which is good with the success of Halloween. So hopefully we get more of that because I think it's really good for it. But anyway, Chris Rock's character Zeke, he's a cop. He's a detective, and a close friend of his is the first one killed. And all the traps and the kills have to do with the crooked cops. Now they're crooked. Like the first guy, I won't spoil the trap, but it's got something to do with his tongue because he lied in court. Is the whole thing. That's right at the beginning, so I don't think it's too much of a spoiler. I won't jump into many other traps, but it was interesting how they all followed what they did wrong, what was crooked about them, and kind of a retribution. Pretty extreme though, definitely extreme. Like that guy would never be able to talk again if he survived, and that's at the beginning of the movie. And they just follow this paper trail, and the killer keeps sending boxes to Zeke, Chris Rock's character, and he's going all over the city following these breadcrumbs, but it's all leading to a conclusion. The killer had a plan all along and ends up trapping him towards the end. But the one downside I'd say is usually in these movies, they do a good job of giving you red herrings and making it so you don't really know who it is. I figured out who the killer was in the first 20 minutes. The character did some things that I definitely picked up on, and of course I was right. I whispered to my friends, and of course I was right. But so I was hoping there'd be more of a twist. They pull a thing at the end, which I'll get into soon with spoilers. But yeah, it's not a very long movie. I think it's about an hour and a half, something like that. But I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I know it's pretty mixed. Purist Saw fans that really want to see like the torture and that stuff probably won't like it as much, but I like that it went more of the thriller route because I like that. Now it's not as good as Seven. It's not as good as the first Saw, but it's not. I'd say it's better than a few of the later Saw entries I hardly remember, and I definitely recommend going to see it. Um, I think it had some interesting ideas, and I'm a huge Seven fan, so that it borrowed from that made me enjoy it a bit more. I do wish it had the lulls, but it is pretty frantic. So through the whole thing, you're pretty invested. So I think that sticks with me. Some movies you get kind of like bored or they carry on too long. This one, it doesn't take enough time to let things sit in, but it definitely takes you along for a ride. So definitely entertaining. And I got to see an advanced screening in theaters with my friends. So that was good. I'm glad to go back to the movie theaters. It's actually the third movie I've seen. I saw Mortal Kombat and Godzilla versus Kong in the theater. Glad to go back. I used to not go to the theater that much, but now that it's open, I've got to go back, and I'm looking forward to A Quiet Place too. But that'll probably be my next review. But that's neither here or there. So go check it out. I enjoyed it. Not everyone's going to, but I thought it was pretty solid. I'm glad I went to see it. And I was impressed by Chris Rock in his role. I mean, I wasn't expecting to take him seriously. And it didn't help with the stand up in the beginning. But we got there, and it becomes quite the story. And I'm going to get into spoilers. So if you've seen it, hang out. If you haven't seen it, stop the video, or if you just don't care. So the way I figured out who it was is Zeke's the detective rookie that's with him asked for his phone because he says his is dead, and he kind of walks away with it. He's going to go look something up. He's an excuse, but I knew that was going to be a plot device because having access to Zeke's phone gives him access to all the police records. He ends up texting Zeke's dad, Samuel L. Jackson, to meet him. That's how he captures Zeke's dad to use as the main plot point at the end. He makes Zeke decide. Once Zeke finds out who it is and reveals it, he makes him decide. He knows that Zeke's there to stop all the crooked cops, so he wants Zeke to flush, say who's crooked, and he's going to take care of him since the system lets them all go. Because his father was killed by a crooked cop that Zeke stopped like 12 years ago. So it all leads to that. And there's a final showdown. The killer actually escapes to leave rooms for a sequel, but Samuel L. Jackson dies because the rookie had a trap set that once the police came, he would die to ensure his escape, and Zeke's left to watch Samuel, his father, die. And if they do make another, Spiral 2, I think Chris Rock will be in it and definitely be influenced, or maybe they'll go on a different story. But there's definitely more ways they can go, and I'd love to see more of the thriller aspect. Like I said, I really liked the movie, but the reveal at the end wasn't like the dead guy at the end of Saw being Jigsaw standing up and walking away. Seeing that for the first time. Also brought back like they included the fast camera from like the first one. I forget which ones they do it. Like when they're in the traps, they speed up time and kind of circle it around. It seems like a very like early 2000s thing that should just stay there, but they decided to go with it probably to make it more similar to Saw. And the traps were pretty good, so I think you'll have a good time with that. I'd say definitely go check it out, and let me know in the comments what you think. Like and subscribe, and I will see you for Quiet Place 2 probably, or something else comes out before that. Thor out.